President Muhammad Buhari has met with the British monarch, King Charles III, at Buckingham Palace. They spoke about improving economic ties between the UK and Nigeria, and Buhari says the British monarch spoke highly of Nigeria as a resilient country in the face of global economic crisis. The president is in the UK for medical checkup and is expected back in Nigeria this week.
Well, it's mostly economic. Let the Nigerian businessmen and the British one continue to work together and let them, make sure that the relationship is improved instead of allowing it to go down. Nigeria has a large market. You know Nigerians. And I have a house here. I say, no, I have, even in Nigeria, the only house I have are those I have before I got into government. And I'm not very much interested in having, assets all over the place. I feel much more freer when I have nothing.
All right, Dr. Bati, let's hear about this.
Very good optics. President Muhammad Buhari traveled on October 31 for a 2-week medical checkup in the United Kingdom. So we expect him back this week, that is if he does not extend his visit to the UK. But it's good optics to see him meeting with King Charles III. This is not the first time that they will be meeting. It should be recalled that in 2018, Prince Charles, as he then was, having been made the head of the Commonwealth, embarked on a 5-nation tour of Africa, and Nigeria was part of his itinerary. And he met with President Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja, accompanied by, as she then was, the Duchess of Cornwall, his wife, Camilla. Yeah, and now this is the second time they will be meeting. First major visit by a Nigerian leader meeting King Charles III, as he now is. Now, according to the reports that I have seen, the two of them, as the president pointed out in that interview with the NTA, discussed economic ties between both countries. And as the president said correctly, yes, Nigeria is a big market. And it's not just about being a big market. Nigeria and the United Kingdom share, many ties, both cultural, historical, and political. Britain, having been former, colonizer of Nigeria gaining independence since 1960. But there was a little detail in their conversation. The monarch was said to have asked President Buhari whether he has a house or not in the UK. Well, some mischievous Nigerians will contextualize that and say that, King Charles must have noticed that the president of Nigeria is so frequently in the UK. He probably has a property there. But of course, as president of Nigeria, there's Nigeria House there, of course, and as president, that's where, he can point to as his address as president of Nigeria. But I mean that on a lighter note. The president, in the conversation with NTA, also used the opportunity to make a number of disclosures. One, that he's committed to free and fair and transparent elections in 2023. I think that's an important message, even if he expressed support for the candidate of his own party, but at least it's good to hear him saying again and again that he intends to bequeath to Nigeria a legacy of transparent and free and fair elections. For the first time, he spoke directly, personally, on the Naira redesign, and he said that clearly there is no going back on that account. This will be the second time that the presidency will be openly endorsing the proposed Naira redesign, that is 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira notes by the Central Bank of Nigeria, contrary to the statement by the Minister of Finance that she was not aware of such a development. From the point of view of diplomacy, I think it's a good thing that the President of Nigeria met with King Charles III. He met him, as I said earlier on, as Prince Charles. Now he met him as King Charles III. And The king himself said Nigeria is a very resilient country in the face of global economic crisis. I think King Charles III could not have put it better. The best thing about us as Nigerians is our resilience. It's our capacity to endure. I recall many years ago, I wrote a Man of the Year essay, devoted to the ordinary Nigerian. And the main line in that essay was about the resilience of the average Nigerian, our capacity to bounce back, our capacity to pull back from the precipice, no matter the pressures that we may face. And King Charles III was right to have put his finger precisely on that, about our resilience. Okay? Other people would describe us wrongly, but truly, we are very resilient people. Poverty touches us, we bounce back. There is a public health crisis, Nigerians survive. There is inflation, Nigerians are forging ahead. In the midst of everything, party halls are full every weekend with Nigerians jollofing and pepper souping, in spite of all the adversity that assails them.
Very well said. Good optics, like you said, Dr. Bati, for Nigeria. I'm really excited that Nigeria is there with the new king of England, King Charles III. A very good one. But the visit is a little... maybe I'm missing something here. The president said he was going for medicals. And now, voila, meeting with Buckingham Palace, the king. Is that something I miss? If it was still official visits and the likes, couldn't we have been notified? Because this is just like putting the genie out of the bottle and all of a sudden we're saying something. It's good optics, don't get me wrong, but I just felt since you were going for medicals, you would be with your checks and things like that. And probably if you were going to get visits, probably was going to get visited by a very good friend, Archbishop Justin Welby, which they had known since the 80s, where Welby used to work in oil and gas then before he went to become a man of God and all of that. But I think that line for me, I don't get. But apart from it, every other thing very good. I think the question as regards, you must have a place probably in the UK. I think it's an indication that we should watch it. The fact that our Nigerian leader almost every time has gone to the UK more than anything. In fact, he stayed more in the UK. A certain year, he stayed over 100 days in the UK because of medicals. And I think we should watch it. And this was the same leader that, if I remember during his campaign, said that we'll not have a need to travel abroad for healthcare because he'll make everything. Just like other promises we hear about, $1 becoming $1. Anyway, they've debunked that over and over again. Just like other promises we hear that the quality of education will improve, they've debunked that over and over again. I think it's a little too much when we have increasing medical checks abroad and all of that. But the argument they will make, they are quick to make, is also the fact that, hey, he's had this medical doctor for a while and all of that, so we might not be aware of it and all of that. So once we smoothen out that area, then going forward, we should have leaders that can, stay in their country, develop their medical health care. If they need special care, yeah, they could go abroad. But most importantly, if the healthcare system here is working and working well, then we should do a whole lot here. And also, moving forward, I'm happy they talked about economy, trade, and all of that. And they talk about the symbiotic relationship. Prince Charles, now King Charles, has a very, good relationship with Nigeria. I'm happy you talked about resilience. And yes, Nigerian people are very resilient, but I just hope our political leaders are not taking our resilience for granted, because it looks as though. For the fact that Nigerians will always bounce back from many economic challenges doesn't mean that the leaders should not think well about how to provide solutions to the challenges. For the fact that Nigeria will bounce back doesn't mean that they should keep us in this economic challenge, because most of these economic challenges are caused by bad decisions. There's no way you can tell me that the inflation we are facing now can be linked to the border closure, because after the border closure, the inflation numbers dropped up. So these are the things we look at. But God bless Nigeria. It's a great country on earth, and kudos to the president, there. PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar is assuring voters in Borno State of his readiness to decimate Boko Haram terrorist group that has led to the death of thousands and rendered millions homeless. Atiku and the other party leaders, while winning votes in Maiduguri, shaded the APC-led federal government for paying lip service to the plight of people in the northeast. The Rise News correspondent Mary Chinda reports that the campaign team was also attacked by thugs.
Populated by over 6 million persons across 27 local government areas, Borno State is the first northeastern state where the People's Democratic Party is taking its presidential campaign train to. But Atiku Abubakar's touchdown at the airport is greeted by some protesters chanting several songs. Refusing to be deterred by this, the PDP campaign team heads to the palace of the Shehu of Borno, seeking his support. But here, another set of protesters attacks them.
We don't want our women and their children to go to bed hungry. We want to be sure that every family is able to feed itself, and we want our children to go to school.
We believe that the people of Borno State this time around will vote for PDP. PDP! Nigeria! God bless you.
At this stadium, the PDP is greeted to a rousing welcome by supporters as the campaign team reels out the reasons why the party's candidate should be voted into power.
On behalf of all of them, to call on the people of Borno State to vote PDP! Vote PDP! Power! All the women in Borno State, talk to your husbands, talk to your fathers, talk to your brothers, talk to your children, talk to your family, to vote for PDP!
With abducted Leah Sharibu still in captivity after the Dapchi school attack, and with many others killed across the state since 2011, the PDP presidential candidate says a vote for him will put an end to insecurity in the state.
We paid a courtesy call to the Shehu of Borno, and in his address, he requested us to attend to about 4 or 5 issues that are the problems in Borno. One of them, he requested us to restore peace and security of the state. And we promise you that by the grace of God, if PDP is elected, we shall restore peace and order in Borno State. Not only in Borno State, throughout the country. Secondly, he requested us to make sure that we reactivate Chad Basin Development Authority so that our farmers can go back to farm.
Despite the violence witnessed in today's rally in this APC-dominated state, the presidential candidate of the PDP says there is no going back in campaigning across all of the states in the Northeast. From Borno State, Mary Chinda reporting for Rise News.
Still on the PDP, 4 members of the G5 governors of the party met with Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed. Governor Nyesom Wike says that they went on a solidarity visit to Governor Mohammed and also discussed ways they can intervene regarding some challenges his re-election bid. On his part, Governor Mohammed appreciated the show of concern and listed some of the issues as anti-party challenges and treachery in the state. The meeting is coming in hours after Bauchi State Governor met with the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar in Abuja, following his threats to leave the party's presidential campaign if the former vice president loyalists work against his re-election.
We are here for reconciliation. We have never closed the door for reconciliation. All we are saying for equity, fairness, and justice. That's not. In fact, that is the hallmark of what PDP stands for equity, fairness, and what? Justice. We are here. We have never closed door, and we will not close door. All we are saying, look, let the right thing be done. If the right thing is done, you will see how the whole place will be, the whole country will know that the election is over. This is the bedrock of the party. This G5 you are seeing, we are the bedrock of the party. So we will not close the door for reconciliation. We are open for reconciliation any day, anytime.
It is no longer a secret that I wrote a letter to the party on my position in Bauchi. What I have found out to be working against me as a leader and as a second a first-time governor going for my second term. And I wrote it with all honesty and sincerity and with a deep sense of fidelity. And that is why the party invited me to go and discuss with the flag bearer of the PDP, our leader, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And we discussed extensively, and I have gotten some explanations because the letter I wrote was not only written by me, it was written by the PDP family in Bauchi and the government of Bauchi. And that is why I was there and we discussed extensively. As for the G5 governors, I always joke with them that I'm a G1, but I'm inexorably connected with them. We have always been together, and you know it. Governor Wike, Governor Otom, Governor Fezua, and of course Ogwanyi, they have been here several times, and I have gone to them several times. And I think this is some of the takeaways I have as a governor, having friends for life. So I'm everywhere, but of course it doesn't mean that I'm nowhere.
Meanwhile, the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi is assuring Nigerians that he will restructure the country to bring much needed change if elected president. Obi gave the assurance at the presidential campaign rally in Makurdi, the Borno state capital. Addressing supporters at the rally, the Labour Party flag bearer says the federal government under his leadership will, amongst other things, support every state prioritize security and improve the education sector. Obi said Nigerians should hold him responsible on his campaign promises if elected to office.
Federal government of Nigeria under Peter Obi and Dati will support every state to be productive. We will remove Nigeria from consumption to production. Two of us are successful. We are successful people. Two of us are wealth creators. We are not wealth sharers. We are not in this to show. Everything I'm saying today, take it. Hold us responsible. Nigeria cannot continue like this. We know what we can do. We'll start building a new Nigeria.
Dr. Bati, a lot to talk about.
Okay, it's campaign season. Three different stories there. Let me start with Peter Obi, who was campaigning yesterday in Benue State as presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Yes, Mr. Obi, is going from state to state, which is the way it should be. But he made a number of points yesterday, talking about being held accountable, ready to be held accountable by Nigerians. That's an important point. He also made a point about making Nigeria a new place, the idea of a new Nigeria, making Nigeria to work again, because he was making the point that the people who are in charge of Nigeria, they are wasting everybody's time because they are not doing the right thing. And what some of the things he was proposing was that, one, it's possible for Lagos to be a bigger financial sector. It's possible for the Southeast to be an industrial hub, which it has the potential to become. And it is possible for Benue to claim its place properly as the food basket of Nigeria. And of course, he was saying that, look, the issues that they have in Benue, too many killings, insecurity, that would be a priority for his government. And of course, that's also the same message that has been taken to the people by the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate in Benue State, Herman Hembe. That's the name of the governorship candidate. And from what we can see on the screen, it looked like a successful outing for Mr. Peter Obi and his team in Benue State. Now, the second story, the visit of the G5, Governor Wike and his friends, to Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, the Kamra Bauchi. It's political season again, and you are bound to have friends visiting one another. But I don't think that visit is a clear indication that Governor Bala Mohammed is going to join, the G5. Governor Makinde, by the way, was absent, at that event. The other 4, Governor Enugu, Governor Abia, Governor Benue, and Governor Rivers were the ones who met with them. But he says, and we have some confirmation in that regard, that he actually protested about certain PDP members in Bauchi State working against his interests, his plan to have a second term in office. And of course, we also had reports in the papers yesterday that had been addressed by the party and also directly by the presidential candidate of the party. If Governor Bala Mohammed is going to belong to anywhere, I think he's in a position to make that very clear. But consistently, since the presidential primaries in that party, he has not shown any inclination to work against the party. But these things happen in politics. You have people even within your own party who will try to work against you. And it's in your best self-interest, of course, to address where you see any signs of disloyalty or sabotage. Now, Governor Wike made a point that the G5 are open to reconciliation. Well, the question is, could that be PR talk? Because at the same time, he said, we're committed to equity, fairness, and justice. In other words, he restated the position that he has consistently maintained, that the chairman of the People's Democratic Party cannot remain in office, that it will amount to unfair politics to have the chairman from the same part of the country as the presidential candidate. But what is clear in his saying that the G5 constitute the bedrock of the party is that they do not intend to leave the party. And also he made the point that they are going to support Governor Bala Mohammed as he seeks a second term in office, and that in his own case, he's not seeking any office after the presidential primaries. But it's okay. Solidarity visit, we're likely to get a lot more of that as we move towards the 2023 general elections. Now, what happened in Borno State when the PDP went to Borno State must be condemned. Electoral violence is one of the biggest threats to the forthcoming general elections in 2023. The various political parties and their leaders signed a peace accord openly in Abuja, but we have not seen that peace accord having any effect. I mean, the politicians have been behaving as if election is war by another name. So much emotionalism, so much verbal violence, physical violence, and the PDP's convoy being attacked in Borno State. It doesn't really look good. People should be able to campaign, without let or hindrance in any part of the country. Borno State, by the way, is the home base of the APC vice presidential candidate, former Governor Kashim Shettima. And hence, the PDP issued a statement speaking through Polibe, the media aide to Atiku Abubakar, saying that, look, this was an APC attack. The Borno APC chairman had reacted saying, no, they had no hand in it. But of course, it's been said that this is the APC. But what I find curious is the role of the police in this. The police spokesperson for Borno State came out and said, oh, it is fake news, that no such incident occurred. But we saw the tape. We saw people stoning the convoy there. And, the police taking sides and trying to downplay the matter and saying, oh, one person was arrested. And the evidence that they have taken from him is that he was throwing stones, that there was a stone that he was throwing. Okay, how ridiculous can these policemen be? They just need to be reminded of what President Buhari had said, that there should be no partisanship on the side of the police. That the police going into this election, pre, during, and after, must be neutral, must be apolitical, must be professional. Now, lying and distorting information doesn't look like professionalism on the part of the Borno Police Commissioner and his spokesperson. Going into this election, it is important to give peace a chance. Someone will win, Other people will lose, but Nigeria must move forward. Nobody should use their own ambition to further create problems. We have enough problems. Violence, electoral violence should not be added to it.
I mean, very well said, Dr. Abati, and I join you in condemning in its entirety that attack on the PDP presidential convoy. It is wrong, it is bad, and we should never have such occurrence in our country. And the same police that said it's a lie, if they want, I think they can take the tape from Arise TV and make their investigation, because the tape is obvious there. And it is a clear case that the police lied in Borno State. But I'm not surprised. It's not today. You know, Dr. Abati, you and I both sat here when the police spokesperson in Kano said no bombing happened, that it was a chemical explosion. And 3 days after, the same security authorities came out to confirm that there was a bombing in Kano. We all remember how that thing happened. And the police spokesperson then in Kano was lying so hard. We knew he was lying, but we're just having a field day listening to him lying. So the Borno State Police Command issuing a statement like this, lying again, it's not surprising. But the IG should watch it and call that state command to order, because it just whittles down the integrity of the police. And that's why a lot of people don't trust the police. And when you hear things like police is your friend, people look and say, what's happening here? There are facts on ground, and the PDP campaign bosses were attacked. You can see the empirical evidence. And it was just not one person that made the attack. It was a mob attack, and you saw it. And our colleague, Mary, I just hope Mary recovers quickly, was hurt in that attack. She was on television yesterday narrating her own ordeal. And it was a sad experience. And journalists should not be brought into the chaos politicians do with themselves, which is very sad. And please, we must not have this again. Moving on to Peter Obi and his campaign in Benue State. Yes, his campaign trail is moving on. He said the same thing. But I'd like to encourage Mr. Peter Obi. It's not just about tipping things you say. It's about giving us a manifesto. The last one that came out, Mr. Peter Obi said, no, it was just a draft of what he had before, that is not released a manifesto. Till date, we're still waiting to see that manifesto. Because, you see, it is when we put these things on paper that it proves the level of accountability we ought to have. Yes, you might make the argument that, oh, people don't follow manifestos, it's about the character of the candidate, but put it on paper. Because it's like somebody that wants a job that is not ready to submit a resume yet. And that's what the manifesto is here. We need to be able to see it on ground so that we have things that we can challenge and interrogate empirically, like we've done for other candidates. So his campaign, he's remained a message, production, driving the economy and all of that. But it's when we have a manifesto, we can interrogate some of the ideas and ask him, how will he do X, Y, Z, as such as in the manifesto? The PDP, the Bala Mohammed thing is quite real. Although the PDP might try to downplay it, but there are concerns there. And the concerns, the fact that we all know how things have gone bad between the G5. Or somebody said yesterday they should call them 5G governors, you know, this group of governors now, you know, that their network now is becoming so strong in the PDP, like the 5G network. So we all know how things have gone so bad, and this has distracted the campaigns of the PDP. But a lot of people will argue with you otherwise that, look at the turnout. You know, in Maiduguri yesterday, it shows that the presidential campaign of the PDP has moved on. But some people also argue vociferously that this is really whittling down, you know, the PDP. And now for Bala Mohammed, you know, that also is Mbochi State, which is another, you know, good voting bloc out there, you know, having these problems internally that he has to meet with the presidential candidate of the PDP. People are saying, let's not treat this with levity. And quickly, the 5G governors have swooped in on him, said they are in solidarity with him. Let's see how this pans out. But anything that happens in the PDP now, we generate a lot of news because of the antecedents of what is on ground. So there's a big, big fight back and forth on ground in the PDP now. Some faction, the Atiku faction, might have moved on and all of that. And, you know, still on the PDP, I just want to take our time to commiserate with one of the spokespersons of the PDP, Daniel Bala, you know, that lost his brother recently. May God rest his soul. But Arise Global Media Limited and the Korean Cultural Center of the Embassy of the Republic of Korea have signed a memorandum of understanding. The move is expected to strengthen cultural ties and bilateral ties between Nigeria and South Korea. Niyo Yelowo has more.
The signatures on this document is a policy of intent that culminated in the signing of a memorandum of understanding between representatives of the Arise Global Media and the Korean Cultural Center of the Embassy of the Republic of Korea.
They will sign the agreement and we can begin to deepen the relationship across culture, politics, media, technology, and the rest. So I'm here to thank you very much, and we'll take it from there.
Today is really a meaningful day for the Korean Embassy and Korean Cultural Center in that Arise TV is the most influential TV station in Lagos area. And the KCC, Korean Cultural Center, have established a sort of a sistership relationship. This is the new beginning for our cultural diplomacy. We know that Lagos is the economic capital of Nigeria, as well as the cultural capital of Nigeria. So we need to have a strong presence in Lagos area. We found Arise TV is the right partner for us to promote Korean culture in Lagos area.
The MOU signifies a gesture for bilateral ties in the field of cultural exchange, media interaction, and others, as a platform for strengthening relations.
Promotion, culture, and policy is important. So our collaboration is very important, and I think mutually I want to cooperate with this Arise Media. And we want many events in Lagos next year. So we want to cooperate with media, and we will promote Korean culture.
It's quite significant that the Korean Cultural Center of the Korean Embassy in Nigeria is signing this agreement with Arise Global Media. It's an opportunity to push the culture of both countries. For Arise, all cultures matter, and it's in that direction that we're taking this step. So when we had this opportunity to sign an agreement with the Korean Cultural Center, we welcomed it with both hands, because we have a lot of content which Korean nationals will be interested in. And of course, Korea, very rich in culture. Nigerians like their culture, like their food. So it's an opportunity to also help to promote the Korean culture amongst Nigerians.
The Arise Global Media is regarded as a veritable channel of communication by South Korean authorities, improving on exchange of values, which both countries share.
Today, Arise Global Media signed an MOU with the Korean Embassy on Korean culturals for the Korea Cultural Center. The significance is they would like us to also promote their projects and use Arise as a platform to communicate to the world, to the global media. What better way to do it than to do it with Arise News? Now, this is going to bring two different cultures together. We have the Korean culture, we have the Nigerian culture. We have diasporas that are interested in knowing what's going on in other countries, and we have, likewise, it's like a handshake. It's more of a handshake. We will infuse our own cultural, our own cultural ways into their own ways, and they too likewise in terms of food, clothing. It could be anything. It could be maybe sponsoring, and the ambassador had mentioned, sending our journalists over there to maybe for some trainings, and maybe from time to time we get to know how to speak their languages as well. Nigeria is a diverse country with different ethnicity as well. I'm sure some of them are interested in doing that here as well.
The MOU is expected to assist in exploring ways of further partnership between the Arise Global Media and the Korean Cultural Center of Embassy of the Republic of Korea. Ni Ui-lo, Arise News.
All right, another very big congrats to Arise TV. I mean, it just deepens that conversation about Arise TV being a formidable TV station and a highly influential TV station in Nigeria. Dr. Bati?
Okay, what I see here, Professor Ade Adefuye had written that landmark, book on culture and foreign policy, how you can use culture as a tool of diplomacy. And this memorandum of understanding that has been signed between the Arise Group and the Korea Cultural Center is a perfect exemplification, illustration of the validity of the argument that indeed within the cultural space, you can use culture to drive diplomacy. And what the Koreans are talking about is this cultural diplomacy, as I've tried to define it. And it's a very good development. And I hope that, the Nigerian authorities will take special notice of this and find reason here to begin to invest more in culture and all the cultural, tools that are available to us, as other countries do. Ironically, even now, we don't have a national cultural policy that you can point to as an articulation of the importance of culture. In this regard, the Arise Group is the media group. And media can be a very powerful tool for diplomacy. This is what we have seen. And yet, the media establishments in Nigeria are suffering a lot. Newsprint is very expensive because we've mismanaged all the newsprint units that we have in Nigeria, including the one at Okuiboku, the one at Iwopen. So media investors are going through a lot. Even for the broadcast, media, it's quite an uphill task keeping, any broadcast station going because of the cost of everything that is involved. I think that whoever is in charge of culture in Nigeria should take an interest in this and to use it as justification for supporting cultural workers, for supporting the creative industry. Look at a media group now, helping Nigeria to strengthen, its ties with Korea. Yeah, this happens, and it's a very good development indeed. The Korean embassy said that they have a number of programs that they want to put in place in Nigeria, and they want this partnership with Arise Group. That partnership has been signed. I think the Nigerian government should also look into it and provide necessary support that they can provide. Oftentimes, that the Nigerian government treats culture as if it does not matter, but culture matters. There is a book on that. I don't immediately remember the name of the author, but there's a book called Culture Matters, and this is what we're seeing in this particular regard.
And I think it's very well said, Doctor, but I think it's time for Nigerian government to understand the soft power of culture. A lot of the good that culture is doing for our Nigerian, image abroad is the likes of Burna Boy, Thames, winning Grammy Awards. Do you know the cultural integration that is happening? The Nigerian songs are being played in bars all over the world. Nigerian Nollywood movies are being watched, on sea voyages all over the world and the likes. Our culture is permeating into every facet of society. Our books are now being kept as collector's items in the Library of Congress. Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart, was voted one of the best books of the last century. That's what culture is all about. And these are the things that are framing the image of Nigeria abroad. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie and the likes. This is the time to key into it. Do a lot for the people.